The smell hits you first. Charred oak, wet wood, iron heated past orange into white. Then the sound, not loud, but constant. Steel against steel. A hammer finding the exact point on a hoop where the metal needs to move. Not bend, move. Robert Hartwell is 68 years old. He's been a cooper for 52 of those years. His hands don't look like hands anymore. They look like tools that grew fingers. The knuckles are thick. The palms are mapped with old burns and splinters that never fully healed. He picks up a draw knife without looking at it. The weight is memory now. This is his workshop in Shepherdstown, West Virginia. 4 walls, dirt floor, a fire pit in the center that's been burning in some form since 1847, and the tools hanging on the walls were made before his grandfather was born. Some of them were made before the Civil War. He doesn't talk much while he works. There's no need. A barrel is a conversation between wood, fire, and time. You don't rush it. You don't explain it. You just do it, over and over, until your body knows what your mind forgot it was teaching. Coopering isn't woodworking. It's not carpentry. It's something older. Something that belongs to the era when everything you owned had to hold liquid, and if it didn't, you died. Water, whiskey, salted meat, grain, oil. Everything moved in barrels. Everything stored in barrels. And if the barrel leaked, you lost it all. Robert learned this trade the way every cooper learned it. By watching, by failing. By doing it 10,000 times until failure became impossible. He started at 16. His mentor was a man named Claude Dufresne, a French-Canadian cooper who'd worked on ships before settling in Appalachia. Claude didn't teach with words. He taught with silence and correction. A grunt when the angle was wrong. A nod when the grain was read correctly. Robert spent the first year just selecting wood. That's all. Looking at oak. Touching it. Learning to see the future of a stave before it was cut. If you grew up around a workshop like this, you'll recognize that sound. The rhythmic tap of a hammer chasing a hoop down a barrel. It's not random. It's not loud. It's precise. And if you've heard it once, you never forget it. A barrel is 31 pieces of wood held together by physics. No glue, no nails, no screws, just staves, iron hoops, and pressure. The staves are cut from white oak, never pine, never maple, always oak. The grain has to run vertical, perfectly vertical. If it angles even slightly, water will find a path through. The wood will swell when wet, but it has to swell uniformly. If one stave swells faster than another, the barrel splits. Robert selects his wood in winter. He splits it with a froe, following the grain. A froe is a medieval-looking blade with a handle perpendicular to the edge. You don't chop with it. You place it on the wood and strike the back with a mallet. The wood separates along its natural grain line. This matters. If you saw the wood, you cut across fibers. Cut fibers leak. Each stave is rough-shaped with a draw knife. The draw knife is a 2-handled blade you pull toward your body. It removes wood in thin, controlled curls. Robert's draw knife is 140 years old. The handles are smooth from decades of hands. He replaced the blade once, in 1991. The original cracked during a freeze. The stave has to taper, wider at the center, narrower at the ends. This creates the barrel's curve, but the taper can't be guessed. It has to be calculated. Robert uses a geometry learned from Claude, who learned it from his father, who learned it from a cooper in Quebec in the 1880s. The math is simple, but the execution is not. Once the staves are shaped, they're stood upright in a ring and held together with a temporary hoop. This is called raising the barrel. The staves stand straight at first, parallel. Then comes the fire. Robert builds a small fire inside the barrel. Oak shavings, dry kindling. Just enough heat to make the wood pliable, not enough to ignite it. He adds water to the outside of the staves. The combination of steam and heat softens the wood fibers. This is where most people fail. Too much heat, the wood scorches and weakens. Too little, and it won't bend. The window is narrow. Robert learned it by ruining 47 barrels in his first 2 years. He places a second hoop near the top of the barrel and begins tapping it down with a hammer. The staves resist. They want to stay straight. He taps in a circle. Evenly. Gradually. The hoop moves down a 1/4 inch. Then a 1/2 inch. Then an inch. The staves begin to curve. Slowly. Robert adds more heat. More steam. He taps the hoop lower. The barrel belly begins to form. The staves are bending now, but not breaking. The grain holds. This process takes 40 minutes. It cannot be rushed. If you've ever watched hands move like this, you know it's different from watching a screen. There's no undo button. There's no second take. The wood bends once. If it cracks, the stave is ruined. If the barrel collapses, you start over. Robert doesn't start over often. Once the barrel is bent, the interior is charred. This isn't decorative, it's functional. Charring the inside seals the wood and adds flavor if the barrel will hold whiskey or wine. Robert uses a controlled burn, just enough to blacken the surface without compromising the structure. The charred layer also prevents rot. After charring, the barrel heads are fitted. The heads are circular pieces of wood that seal the top and bottom. They sit in a groove cut into the inside of the staves. This groove is called a croze, and it's cut with a tool called a croze plane. The croze has to be perfectly level and exactly the right depth. Too shallow, and the head falls out. Too deep, and the barrel leaks. Robert cuts the croze by hand. He's done it so many times that he doesn't measure anymore. He just knows. His hands feel the resistance of the plane. His eyes see the curl of the shaving. When it's right, it's right. The heads are made from multiple pieces of oak, edge-glued and clamped. Once dry, they're cut into circles and beveled to fit the croze. Robert tests the fit by tapping the head into place with a mallet. If it seats with a soft thud, it's correct. If it rattles, it's too small. If it resists, it's too large. He adjusts with a plane until the fit is exact. The final hoops are hammered into place. These are the permanent iron bands that hold the barrel together under pressure. Robert forges his own hoops. He heats iron in a coal forge, hammers it into rings, and welds the ends shut. Each hoop has to be sized perfectly. Too tight, and it splits the staves. Too loose, and the barrel leaks. The hoops are driven on with a hooping hammer, a heavy tool with a flat striking face. Robert works in a rhythm. Tap, rotate, tap, rotate. The hoop moves down the barrel in increments. The sound is sharp and metallic, but when the hoop seats fully, the tone changes. It rings instead of clanks. Robert hears the difference. You could blindfold him, and he'd still know when the hoop was seated. That's 52 years. In 1900, there were more than 150,000 coopers working in the United States. By 1950, there were fewer than 10,000. Today, there are maybe 200. Robert is one of them. The decline wasn't sudden. It was gradual. First came metal drums, then plastic, then shipping containers that didn't need individual barrels. Bulk transport replaced handmade vessels. Efficiency replaced craftsmanship. Robert doesn't resent this. He understands it. But he also knows what was lost. A machine can make a barrel in 6 minutes. Robert takes 2 days. The machine's barrel will hold liquid. It will ship. It will function. But it won't last a century. It won't improve whiskey. It won't carry the mark of human hands. Robert's barrels are used by small distilleries and breweries. People who care about tradition. People who understand that the barrel affects the flavor. That the char matters. That the wood breathes. He gets maybe 15 orders a year. That's not enough to live on. He supplements with furniture repair and woodworking commissions. But the barrels are what matter. They're what he thinks about when he wakes up. They're what he dreams about when he sleeps poorly. Have you seen a workshop like this close in your lifetime? Robert has. 3 in the last decade. 1 in Pennsylvania. 1 in Kentucky. 1 in North Carolina. All master coopers. All gone. Their tools sold at estate auctions. Their knowledge buried with them. Robert tried to take on an apprentice in 2003. A young man from Morgantown, interested in traditional trades, eager to learn. He lasted 6 weeks. The problem wasn't aptitude. It was time. 6 weeks is nothing in coopering. You don't learn the craft in 6 weeks. You don't even understand the craft in 6 weeks. You just begin to see the outline of what you don't know. But 6 weeks without income is hard, especially when you're 23 and have rent. The apprenticeship model worked when people lived with their masters. When food and housing were part of the training. When you didn't need money because everything was provided. That world doesn't exist anymore. Robert doesn't blame the kid for leaving. He blames the economics. Do you think skills like this should still be taught? Robert does, but he's not sure how. Some of Robert's tools are irreplaceable, not because they're expensive, because they're not made anymore. His hooping hammer was forged in 1890 by a blacksmith in Baltimore. The company closed in 1957. You can't buy a hooping hammer today. You can buy something similar, but it won't have the weight distribution. It won't have the balance. His crow's plane was made in Sheffield, England, in 1872. The manufacturer stopped producing coopering tools in 1923. If the plane breaks, Robert can't replace it. He can repair it. He can maintain it. But if it's lost or destroyed, it's gone. This is true for most of his tools. They were made in an era when coopering was common, when every town had a cooper, when tool manufacturers knew exactly what coopers needed. Now, they don't, because coopers barely exist. Robert has started making his own tools when he can. He's taught himself blacksmithing out of necessity. But some things, like the precision required for a crow's plane, are beyond his ability to replicate. So he takes care of what he has. He oils them, sharpens them, stores them carefully. And he worries about what happens when he's gone. Robert arrives at the workshop at 6:30 a.m. He makes coffee on a camp stove, drinks it black, eats toast with butter. Then he lights the fire. The fire takes 30 minutes to reach working temperature. While it heats, he inspects yesterday's work. A barrel he started 2 days ago. The hoops are seated. The heads are fitted. It just needs a final sanding and a coat of linseed oil. He runs his hand along the staves, feeling for imperfections. There's a slight ridge where 2 staves meet. He takes a small plane and removes it in 3 passes. The surface is smooth now, continuous. By 7:30, the fire is ready. He begins a new barrel. 31 staves, already shaped, already beveled. He raises them in the ring and starts the process again. Heat, steam, hammer. The rhythm is meditative. He doesn't listen to music. He doesn't listen to podcasts. He just works. At noon, he stops for lunch. Sandwich, apple, more coffee, and then back to work. By 4 p.m., the new barrel is bent and charred. The heads are cut but not fitted. That will happen tomorrow. He cleans the workshop, sweeps the shavings, banks the fire, hangs the tools in their exact places. He leaves at 5 p.m. This has been his routine for 52 years. Maybe someone in your family worked a trade like this. The kind of work that doesn't change. The kind of work that requires the same precision every single day. Robert will turn 69 in April. He plans to work until he physically can't. That might be 5 years. That might be 10. He doesn't know. His hands are still strong. His eyes are still sharp. But he feels it in his back, in his knees, the long hours standing, the repetitive motion. He started documenting his process. Videos, written instructions, detailed measurements. He doesn't know if anyone will use them, but he wants the knowledge to exist somewhere, even if it's just in a file cabinet, even if no one reads it for 50 years, because skills like this don't come back once they're gone. You can't relearn them from books. You can't Google your way to muscle memory. Coopering exists in hands, in the weight of a hammer, in the sound of a hoop seating, in the smell of charred oak on a cold morning. And hands do not last forever. Where are you watching from? Is there still a cooper in your town? A blacksmith? A workshop that smells like oil and wood? Have you lived this life, or watched it fade? Robert's workshop is in Shepherdstown, in West Virginia. It's been there since 1847. 3 generations of coopers before him. Maybe no one after. That's not a tragedy. It's just what happens. Trades fade. Skills disappear. The world moves forward. But something is lost when the last person who knows how to do something stops doing it. Robert knows this. He doesn't talk about it much. He just keeps working, one barrel at a time. Under this video, there's a subscribe button. It's a small action, but it helps keep stories like this alive. If craftsmanship still matters to you, if you believe skill deserves to be remembered, subscribing simply means you want these trades documented while they're still here. And before you go, tell us where you're watching from. Is there still a blacksmith in your town? A shoe repair shop? A workshop that smells like oil and wood? Have you lived this life, or watched it fade? Share your story in the comments. That's how these trades stay visible.